Short me $70,000 in violation of our written agreement? It'll cost you $1.8 million. Disclaimer. The names and some of the situations have been changed to protect the identities. But the dollars and general nature of the situation is completely true. Background. A year out of school in the early 1990s, I procured a job as a business analyst for a large, family-owned tech company. This business was located in the booming heart of technology at the time and was very profitable. As tech took off over the next decade, the company thrived and remained family-owned. What was a rich family and company became exceedingly wealthy with a valuation, net worth in the high 9, low 10 figures. The family that owned it was quite neurotic, very moody, and had a reputation as very ruthless, greedy, when it came to financing, deal-making, employees, etc. I truly believe this is what held them back from ultimately becoming a household name as a company. As I progressed in the company, I gained more and more face time with the owners. I worked on some projects directly with ownership that really paid off and gained me even greater access to their inner circle. Now, like a lot of people at the time, and particularly those who worked in tech, I was heavily invested in tech stocks. I discussed some of my investments and gains with ownership as casual conversation, though investing had nothing to do with my role in the company. That is until one day in late 1999 when the owner came to me and asked me if I would invest some of his personal money. He wanted me to take big risks to see if they would pay off using $1 million of his personal money. I was a bit hesitant, but still being in my late 20s and wanting to prove myself, I said I would. I asked for a written agreement where they acknowledged this wasn't my role in the company, was a personal matter between the owner and me, and to document my compensation for this side arrangement, 20% of all profits. Around this same time, and by working in the industry, I started to notice the weakness associated with a lot of tech companies. They just weren't living up to their hype and stock price, and some seemed like they were starting to run out of money. I had no inside information, just a strong sense of which companies were struggling based on my work in the business. Based on this sense, I started using both my money and the owner's money to short tech companies just after the new year in 2000. For anyone unfamiliar with shorting, it means if the value of a stock decreases, the value of the investment increases. I had a few long positions, but my overall position was very short. Since the owner wanted big risk and big reward, I used his money and obtained leverage or margin from the financial institution where I maintained both his and my trading accounts. The accounts were separate, but both under my name. Again, I documented this and gained consent. Well, both my account and his suffered some moderate losses in the first 2 months of 2000 before the bubble began to burst, and both accounts, but his in particular, began to skyrocket. Ownership's pettiness. In June, the company began to suffer a downturn. We were still profitable, but since we provided tech services and products, we were not immune to weakness in the broader market. I had not informed the owner of my short strategy. He came to me one day and asked how his money was doing, saying he suspected it was way down like the general market. To his surprise, I informed him that while we still had some money tied up in options, puts, and shorts, but based in the positions I had closed, there was $1.35 million in cash sitting in the account that belonged to him. Again, I still had a bunch of open positions which, if memory serves, were worth about $1 million on that date. But the positions I had closed had yielded $1.35 million in cash just sitting in his account, which was in my name. The owner, either through ignorance or lack of attention. Said, "Great. $1.35 million. Fantastic work in this down market. Will you please wire it to me?" I responded that I would, but would be taking my 20% of the $350,000 profit, or $70,000, before wiring him the $280,000. I also reminded him I still had open positions that had yet to pay off or close, but I didn't state the amount. He, once again, appeared not to understand or comprehend the open position statement, but instead totally focused on and became incensed about my rightful claim for $70,000. He went on and on about how times were tough. I should be grateful for a job, particularly at my young age, and the entire $350,000 was necessary for him and the company. I knew this wasn't true based on my position within the company. Worse, this was my first time personally experiencing the greedy and corrupt nature that served as the basis for ownership's reputation. The revenge. Now comes the revenge. Since, after 2 separate conversations, the owner didn't seem to grasp that the open positions would yield at least some income, and thus additional profit, I decided not to mention it again. I sent him back the entire $1.35 million and continued to manage the open positions to the best of my ability. And here's the kicker. The owner never brought it up again. He seemed to think the $1.35 million payment was the entire value of the account and never understood or remembered that open positions still existed. He never asked for records, tax documents, or any time of audit or financials. Given the fact that he was dishonest with me, I didn't feel the need to disabuse him of that notion. Ultimately, after a bit more net gain, I covered all of the shorts and exercised all of the options, puts in this case, for an additional $1.8 million. I worked for the company for 3 more years and owner never asked about it during my tenure, after I gave notice, or since. I know it's a bit crass and even shady AF, but given his dishonesty with me over the $70,000, I felt justified in keeping the additional $1.8 million. I paid taxes on the gain, long-term cap gain, and went on my way with a fantastic nest egg. Nobody has asked about it since, and I have only told the story to a few people, and even then only after the statute of limitations passed. The final ironic cherry on top of this sundae is that during my remaining 3 years I gained greater influence with ownership in position within the company because they considered me loyal for giving the $1.35 million back and not making too much of a stink about the $70,000 profit. Little did they know I got the better of them. The company eventually folded due to family disputes, but my understanding is that ownership walked away in very good financial position. They likely could have been a much better and greater company had they not practiced the same dishonesty that they showed me with their vendors, clients, and employees. Thanks for reading and hope you enjoyed. I personally wouldn't post this no matter the time being passed. Why bother risking a loophole just for Reddit clout? If this story is true, you should take this post TF down, because I imagine on the off chance you're caught it will be a shitstorm. Is it shady? I mean, it seems shady in general to have a money manager that isn't officially licensed or whatever. But you guys were consenting adults with an agreement. If I understand it correctly, the current account value was $1.35 million. And that's what you gave him. Perhaps had there been a real dispute over the $70,000, he would have forwarded the records to a real financial professional, who would explain to him the other potential gains. But he was happy with the current account value, and it seems like he was in a cash-strapped position personally. I'm always surprised at people who demand loyalty like this, like you're trying to explain to him how much more he could make. And he just won't hear it. Lol at all the Redditors here who think 1. They know anything about the laws involved in this, and 2. Think that a post on Reddit, a complete work of fiction, will lead to anything. Is his username his social security number or something? ITT. Lots of tomorrow's lawyers with specific knowledge about a 20-year-old case. I liked the story, thanks for sharing. This is how we know the 2020 presidential election wasn't stolen. At least one of the hundreds of people required to make it happen would have posted about it on Reddit by now. A lot of people are talking about civil criminal liability but missing the big picture. Crazy owner broke contract first. For all we know, op lawyered up at some point and is well aware of what they were allowed to get away with. Owner wasn't even totally screwed over. They made 35% profit on their initial investment by screwing op out of OP's own commission. It's much more gray than people seem to be reading. Delete this post. I'm happy for you, but delete this ASAP. A lot of people here seem to be concerned with the legality of all this, which seems strange as firstly the law changes from state to state and country to country. I am based in UK. Also a lot of time has passed and the law has doubtless changed many times since all this transpired. Legally I don't know where you stand. To be honest, I don't believe anyone, even a lawyer, could determine the legality without a lot more details. This for me is a moral issue, and as far as I am concerned, I will behave in a morally appropriate way as long as anyone else does. If, however, they breach any moral code with me, then I will consider that a revisal of the working parameters of our relationship and will behave towards them in the same, albeit morally bankrupt, manner. In other words, I believe in behaving morally, but I also believe in reciprocation when it comes to relationships. They broke the moral code first. All you did was do to them what they did to you. Enjoy the money and feel no guilt. Is it weird that I've read this 3 times? First post, repost, and now the crosspost. And it still feels satisfying as hell? I hope you then rolled it over into Bitcoin and have since become a multi-billionaire tycoon? This was fun to read. I wouldn't post about it personally, but definitely fun to read. 10 out of 10. Startups and even established businesses taking advantage of quality workers costs them so much in the long run. Oh well, their loss. So you traded someone else's money without a Series 7 license and then stole some of the proceeds? This isn't a case of malicious compliance. None of this story was even any part compliance. It was lying by omission. And taking money you rightfully knew was not yours but forgotten by the rightful owner. Esh. But hey, at least $1.8 million as a sizable chunk to risk things over. Not like people who risk fraud charges over a few $100s. Go big or go home. Edit. Some spelling. Currently on mobile. Damn. God. Damn. That is some sweet revenge. A classic you screw me over, I'll screw you over and then some. But as some have mentioned, if completely true, which I have no reason to doubt, I should take it down even though statute of limitations has passed both criminal and civil. Because like you said yourself, they were greedy AF and they likely still are. Just by checking the amounts you name, they could make a real educated guess to whom this story belongs to. They might not be able to come after you through court, but you'll never know what they're capable of if they learn this. They're big numbers. Chances are that if he or they find out, they will not just sit back and have a laugh at it. I for one would like to see you enjoy life to the fullest without being harassed or worse by greedy. Magritte & Co. Beautiful story nonetheless, but please give it some thought. Excuse my confusion, but one of your previous posts says that you were 39 about a year ago, which puts you at 40 in 2021. Now you're saying that in 1999 you were in your late 20s, which would put you in the 26 to 29 range. Add 22 years and by today you should be in the 48 to 51 range. I'm starting to feel a little lied to op. Business stole $70,000 from him. Business had all the money in his name. He complied with all the owner's wishes. As far as I'm concerned, he's in the clear. Legally. I have no idea. My guess is even if he could get in trouble, it's been 20 years and the boss seems like the kind of guy who couldn't give a shit about his subordinates. He's probably forgotten op exists. How did you get that much money in your name without any tax or legal consequences?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.